Hello everyone, and welcome to the Week I Review. You can call me a guy who's been doing this for a year. Technically tomorrow is the anniversary of the first 4 videos I ever posted to this channel, collectively making up episode 1. But today is Monday, so I'm starting the festivities a little early, and what festivities they will be. There will be 5 videos this week, starting with this one, each posted at 8:15 a.m. EST, about the entity that is the Week I Review. That is right, 5 consecutive days and more than an hour of exhaustingly introspective hashtag content. I will never do this again. We started off with a callback to the very first video, episode 1.1, Creating a YouTube Channel, wherein I gave the idea of this whole thing an 8.5. It's a pretty high score in retrospect, one that was based, I think, in large part on some unjustified optimism. So how'd the year actually go? Well, to start, I actually want to go back to that first video. I thought it would be interesting to rewatch it as I was putting this together, and honestly, I think it's pretty good. I know they say you're supposed to hate everything you've ever made that's more than like 2 weeks old, but I really don't. And what I particularly appreciated was how I set clear expectations for what was to come. I may have been optimistic, but I wouldn't say I was idealistic. I had no delusions of grandeur. The Week I Review is, always has been, and always will be a side project. Don't get me wrong, it is my favorite side project, and I am oftentimes more excited about it than things that are not side projects, but it isn't my life or my livelihood, and I won't let it consume me. That fact was fundamental to the development of my process, which I will be reviewing in excruciating detail over the next couple of days, if not necessarily the calendar, at least not so far. Though I never said so publicly, my intention was always to do 52 weeks of at least one video each Monday. At that point, based on how both it and my life in general were going, I would decide what was next. Would the Week I Review become a bigger priority, or would it be relegated to the trash heap alongside dozens of other creative projects that I have put blood, sweat, tears, and money into? Kinda neither. I'm going to continue the channel. Of course, I'm going to continue the channel. But I'm not going to hold myself so militantly to the schedule. I did 52 episodes plus a handful of bonus videos in the past year. I'm aiming for 40 to 45 in the next. Maybe more, probably not less. Most weeks you will still see this face for 9 to 13 minutes. And I intend to stick with the Monday thing as well. But if I see something awesome on Saturday night, or the next big show finishes its season on a Monday the way Chernobyl did, I may push it back a few days so I don't totally miss the zeitgeist. But if I have nothing to talk about, or like some life thing comes up and I don't have the time, I'm not going to force it anymore. Look, burnout is very real. And it is something I have experienced pretty acutely, here on YouTube even, when I was in charge of Flixus.com's channel so many moons ago. Although those videos are decidedly lo-fi, it was still a serious time commitment alongside my actual daily responsibilities. It is very hard to dedicate yourself completely to anything, and honestly, it's a bad idea. And that's triply true when something is a financial black hole like this. I wouldn't say I regret any of the money I've spent on the Week I Review, but were to actually calculate the combination of expenses and unpaid hours worked, it would probably make an accountant cry or laugh. But it's not the money or the production time commitment that I actually find difficult. It's the brain space that the Week I Review constantly occupies. And though I said and meant that I won't let this consume me, way too much of any given week is spent thinking about what's coming up, what I can or should do to improve, or just like absent-mindedly checking the YouTube Studio app a few dozen times a day, despite the fact that I barely get enough engagement to justify checking once. And yet, there is still that momentary rush while I wait for the subscriber count to load and see if it went up. There's a slight dopamine hit every time I see that it did, or a pang of frustration when it didn't that drives me to keep on checking far too many times. There must be a point at which I stop feeling that way, but I don't know what it is, or if it's even possible for this channel to reach it. It was clear from the outset that this was a bad idea from an audience retention standpoint. To get the most out of the week I review, you have to be interested in dark comedy and K-pop and puzzle platformers and indie movies and not so indie movies and traveling and so much more, and want to hear one guy talk about every single one of those things, and that one guy has to be me. I know that there are a lot of people out there, but that Venn diagram overlap definitely ain't very big. I mean, the most consistently positive reactions on this channel are for my roundup of music licensing subscription services. People really like that video, and I have gotten dozens of subscribers as a result. But what have I done that's like that since? The one about Google Ads that starts with my setting money on fire, still one of my favorite intros, to be sure. A few of the videos this week should be of interest, but that's just not a common occurrence on this channel. So every single person who sees that video and subscribes is inevitably going to be disappointed every new Monday. A reality that, disappoints me. If we're being totally honest, I think about this as a movie review show where I only sometimes talk about movies. They're a logical default for me. Film is what I have by far the most experience writing about. Watching a movie only takes a few hours and doesn't cost a whole lot. And there are a lot of them out there, especially since I haven't only reviewed new releases. In the context of this all being a side project with a weekly deadline, movies really are ideal. So if I don't have a performance or some other more unique thing to talk about, then it will almost certainly be a movie. But even then, I'm erratic. Going from Solo or the 120 Days of Sodom to Detective Pikachu to Booksmart means targeting 3 completely different audiences, and I'm back in the same boat. Particularly since new movie releases are often, if not always, my worst performers. I'm not sure if that's because I no longer have press screening access and that my Monday posting and generally low numbers mean the algorithm just ain't working in my favor, or some other thing. But it's too bad. I really like my Booksmart review, and my review of Searching is probably the most interesting I will ever do. But no one watched them, and that makes me sad. The only real solution would be to give up on the mission of this channel of documenting whatever it is that I, Alec kubas-meyer, find interesting that week and actually become a movie review channel or theater review channel or creator subscription service review channel. But, no. The literal instant I feel any of this becoming an obligation instead of a thing I want to do is the moment that the channel dies. I can resent you, dear viewer, but I cannot resent this. Speaking of resentment, oh gosh, are some people angry that I have decided to put this face on videos on the internet that no one is forcing or probably even suggesting that they watch. Haters are an inevitable result of anything you put out there, especially on the internet. But when basically every video targets a new group, you get a wider variety of haters who hate for a wider variety of reasons. And that takes up way too much energy. They say don't read the comments, and as a writer I rarely did, but YouTube is different, especially when someone has as small an audience as I do. And I get everything from legitimate criticism that cuts pretty deep to a bizarre string of separate messages from someone who ended the rants by calling me psycho. The latter trollier folks I found can typically be sent away by reminding them how genuinely pathetic it is that they are taking time out of their lives getting mad at an internet review channel that doesn't even have enough popularity to run ads. Because that is sad, and I feel bad for them. But really, the easiest thing would just have been to not engage in the first place. And it took me more than 6 months to really understand that. I still do respond at times, mostly when I think of something funny and can laugh at my own witticisms. But even in those cases, I often think about the comment afterwards and whether there was a better way I could have worded it to just twist the knife, and down the rabbit hole I go. It's not worth it. Negativity is just a fact of the internet, the big social experiment that ultimately devolves into people who are sad, lonely, and/or completely devoid of empathy, just trying to be noticed, senpai. And I've been that person, and it sucks, and I suck, and I get it. I'm just lucky because I am probably more privileged than any of my haters. They have no power over me, unless I give it to them. So I don't anymore. There was one case actually where I let expected backlash push me away from a topic, not because I was scared of negativity or anything, but because I ultimately didn't see the value in rocking that particular boat. It is important to think about the lines that we draw around separating art from artist. But a review of metalcore band Falling in Reverse didn't feel like the right place to have that conversation. It ended up not mattering because I decided at the last minute to see Blackpink that same week, which would have taken precedent regardless, and I got to use the phrase late capitalism in that review because deep down, I just want everyone to think I'm a leftist intellectual. I was surprised by how positive the reaction to that video has been, actually, but the fact that the positivity did not translate to any new subscribers encapsulates the fundamental disconnect between any given video's audience and that of the channel more broadly. So I can't get caught up in thinking about numbers, and especially not comparing them. People who make objectively worse content will do better if they cater to a specific audience. And that audience is probably children who don't know any better. I don't know much about the people who watch these videos, but I do know that you're not children. I just have to accept it, which is hard sometimes. I really do think the stuff I put up here is good, so it hurts a bit when no one watches the Iceland review that I put many, many hours into. But that isn't going to stop me. I don't really know what the next year holds for me here on YouTube, but barring some genuine tragedy, I'll still be around when August comes again. The things I said in episode 1.1 remain true. I am genuinely glad to have this creative outlet, a place where I can talk about whatever the heck I feel is worth talking about. Maybe other people will join me in that, and that would be awesome. But even if they don't, it's still nice to be here. 7.5 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, cool. If not, I'm sorry. There's 4 more this week, so, if you want to see those, please subscribe and come back. I'll see you tomorrow.